Hey, everybody, in this episode of the GH Report, Kevin takes a punch, Dante gets a kiss, and Sonny gets pissed. We're going to break it all down next.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the GH Report, breaking down all the latest shenanigans happening in Port Charles. I'm Frank Moran.
I'm Carla Renata.
And as always, folks, like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Carla's got her iPad here, which means the chat is up and running.
It is up and running, and we have in the chat room right now, we got Nakisha Jones, we got Annie going, we got Kelly Public Cover, Joe Costanza, and who else is up and true here? If I missed you, and Miss Loretta. Hey, y'all, hey.
Look at that, yes. So, Carla, before we break down the week in particular, what did you think of this week in general?
This week in general, I love how there was that backlash coming at Kevin. There was that backlash. Folk were coming for Kevin, both barrels blazing. I was finally glad to see Griffin go because, bless his heart, he just looked so pitiful. I couldn't take it.
He definitely goes out with such a whimper.
He did go out with a whimper. I mean, he looked like he had lost his when he was at General Hospital and he said goodbye to Carly and Sonny. She was like, "Is that?" And Carly was all, "Is that goodbye?" Yes, Diva. He just said goodbye. Like, what part of goodbye did you not get? But anyway, yeah, he did kind of go out with a whimper. That was kind of disappointing, after the run that he'd had on the show to see him go out like that. But it is what it is. But what was really the most exciting part of the week was watching those daytime Emmy nominations come out.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
And our girl, Mary Pat, Patricia Bethune, got an Oscar. I wish it was an Oscar. Girl, look, I'm giving you an Oscar, not an Emmy. But she got an Emmy nomination. Our girl, Mara West, got one. Dominic got one, who plays Dante. Who else? The little boy who plays Oscar, he got one. Sonny got one, of course. And I think the little girl that plays Joss, I believe she got one as well.
It's and you know what they all have in common is that they've either been on the show or we've talked about having them on the show.
Right, we've all talked. So all of those people, we've talked about having them on the show. We've talked about how fabulous they are and what good work they do, and nobody's coming. But hopefully, we'll get a chance to be on that daytime Emmy carpet or something and be able to talk with them there and make some connections or whatever there. But I was really happy for Patricia Bethune and Mara West because those are as I've said on the show bazillion times, those two were my favorite characters. So to see their work be rewarded in that way was really, really great.
And I'll just say I got rewarded by just Maurice Bernard liking one of my tweets.
He did?
Yeah.
What did he say?
He just liked it. He didn't say anything.
Oh.
So I'll take a like. He says, that's step one.
Right. We're getting a step closer. He liked the tweet. He liked the tweet. We got to take whatever we can get.
There you go.
But Maurice Bernard, if you're listening, please come to the GH Report. We love you. I promise I won't. I promise. I know sometimes on social media it looks like I'm stalking you. I'm kind of not stalking you. I'm just a huge fan of your work as a fellow actor. I love the work that you do on General Hospital for decades. You celebrated, an anniversary of your own on GH in addition to the show celebrating anniversary. And we just want to celebrate you here on Sunday at 6 o'clock.
That's right.
At AfterBuzz TV in North Hollywood, just saying.
I'm feeling that.
Oh, Max Gale and Laura Wright got nominations too. Thank you, Annie.
But I feel like a like of my tweet is pretty much like him saying, yeah, I'm ready to be invited.
Yeah. And you know who else? I'm sorry, just having like Tourette's thinking whatever going on. Vernee Watson got a nomination too on Stella. And she won last year, so hopefully she'll be able to bust it out again.
That's right.
But I think she got to compete with Mary Pat in that category, so now I'm torn. I'm like, oh.
It's... We'll get onto more of the storylines in detail, but since we just mentioned him briefly, Griffin, as a character, he came on with such promise. Duke's son, he had a nice, strong connection to Anna. He had that connection with Sonny. He was able to offer him, and
they brought him on really strong. So you're right. Compared to the way they introduced him into the GH family, it was really disconcerting how they dismissed him.
Yeah, and it's, I had some frustrations with the character, and that was that he was both a doctor and a priest, and that got sometimes a little frustrating for me at some points.
I never had a problem with that. When I started to have a problem with him is when I knew when he got involved with Kiki that was going to get messy. Because he'd been involved with her mom, now he involved with her, then she died, and he seemed to be so incredibly distraught over her dying than he even was breaking up with Ava. And I'm like, well, what does that say to Ava? You know, Ava must feel like crap right about now that you feel more distraught over losing her. Like, you didn't just break up with her, somebody killed her, you know. So there's that. The other part of the week that was very entertaining to me was it seemed like Ava had more conversations and more bottle time about the fact that she slept with the person who killed her daughter so that he could have an alibi. Like, that is really tearing her up. And I love that she had that moment with Laura where Laura was like, you can't keep doing this to yourself. Like, what are you doing?
It is interesting with her because, I mean, certainly she's been in a very traumatic situation, very similar to Alexis, where Alexis also just sank into the bottle as well to kind of deal with everything that happened with Julian. We see Ava doing that same thing, and yet there's, I mean, everybody's individual, so not everybody is going to be an alcoholic nor, respond to it in the same way. But it seems, but I feel like it was something that was forced onto Alexis. It's something that if you were to tell me now that Ava would become an alcoholic, I would buy this more because we've seen such a long record of her
They've
drinking
been setting
heavily.
it up. They've been setting it up. Every time she has a drink, she's having a martini. Like, how many times have we seen her at the Floating Rib or at the Metro Court or even at Charlie's? What is she having? A martini with olives in it everywhere she goes. Her drink is consistent. So to see her on the docks with just a bottle of beer or a bottle of energy drink or whatever that was she was drinking on the docks, it's just like, oh, she stooped to a whole new low. She's drinking out of a can.
Yeah.
She's not even drinking a martini now. Now she's drinking out of can. I'm like, ooh, okay.
Yeah, and she was somebody that even at her place, she had her little bar area set up there, and she would always look to alcohol as a way to help diminish the pain of whatever situation she was in.
Absolutely. That's why it was so prolific when Laura said to her, you can't drink that pain away. You can drink all you want, but you're not going to be able to drink that away. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Laura didn't say that to her. Felicia said that to her. Felicia, when her and Felicia, and that was another nice moment between Felicia and Ava, because they're the only two people that have survived Ryan's wrath. And then there was that cryptic...
and Lulu.
And Lulu. Then there was that cryptic phone call. Do you think that was Ryan?
Of course. It's got to be.
That's so disconcerting.
It's just a robocall, guys. That's all it was. But, yeah, I would have loved to see if you're going to do an alcoholic storyline, which is totally fine. Just Ava was set up for so long that it would have just seemed so natural to have her deal with that.
I mean, I think that them setting it up like that was the natural through line for her, so I'm glad that they did it that way. I'm also, I'm glad, I love the way they write for her. Like, the writers must just be like, ooh, we get to write for Ava today. They just must be so excited. Because no matter what they give Maura West, she just knocks it out the park. Like, I don't care what it is they give her. She just really she brings it home.
And she just wears her emotions on her face so well. She can shift.
She's the best. I ran into her. I was at a gifting suite or something right about the time she first came to GH, and I was so enamored with her then. I ran into her. I was like, oh, my God, girl, I love you on General Hospital. You are everything. She was the sweetest, nicest person. She's so sweet and so kind. So it must be a big joy for her to tap into that evil, nasty side because she's Maura West, the person, isn't anything close to that from what I saw. I mean, granted, I only met her one time, but
And you didn't ask her then. It's like, hey, in 6 years, you want to come on to an after show talking about
you want to come on an after show where I might be in 6 years at AfterBuzz TV? Come on.
I can't believe you didn't do that, Carla.
I wasn't here yet, so what was I going to do? I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, so the week started off with Ava having she'd come over to try to get Avery from Carly, and Avery was at the Quartermaine, so that was what happened. But it led to a kind of a discussion and conversation between Carly and Ava, and I like that because I mean usually when they talk it is they're just two
yelling at each other and it's going in, but it was nice to see. This is the thing that I'm loving that everybody on the show that has had some confrontation with Ava previously excuse me, whether it be Laura, whether it be Carly, whoever it is, they all seem to have some empathy for her, because in their wildest dreams, in anything that they could even think about wishing bad happening to her, I don't think they would ever wish that on their worst enemy, which she kind of is. So, you know what I mean? So the fact that both of them are kind of like, oh, girl, you can't keep doing this to yourself. And then there was that moment where she was leaving Carly's house, and she says, you're going to hold this over me, aren't you, Carly? And Carly's like, I can always use some leverage.
But it was,
But it wasn't nasty,
yes.
the way she said it. It was kind of like she meant it, but she didn't. You know what I mean? She had some really nice moments with everyone. She had that moment with Laura. She had that moment with Carly. I don't think did she have a moment with Griffin? I don't think she had a moment with Griffin.
No. She stopped a little, butt whipping with Griffin and Kevin.
But yeah, and speaking of Kevin, child, how long is he gonna roll around Port Charles with that hospital tag on his wrist? I'm just like,
he's just carrying it around now as proof. Like, see,
it's like,
see?
Why is he like flashing the hospital tag as his ID that he is Kevin Collins? Like, that in itself is just pure comedy. I'm like, what are you doing? I cannot.
The conversation though with Felicia and Ava, while it was great, but it also just reminded me, it's like, boy, Felicia was just so marginalized through this. And I guess to an extent she needed to be, because you really needed to get Ava to be the focus of Ryan's attention. Mm-hmm. But, man, it was a shame to see Felicia gone for such huge parts of it. Because it's like,
she would kind of pop. She kind of popped in and out at the most integral times. Like at the end of when somebody would be murdered, we see Felicia.
Yep.
Or right, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, what is happening right now? But I kind of love the fact that they brought her back at this time, because she was able to have that while she was having that conversation with Ava. Mac was having that conversation with Kevin, and the three of them were tight. They were like the Three Musketeers. So to find out that Kevin, shielded and Mac went in on him. He was like, let me tell you what you didn't see. She's out in public and she's acting like she's over it and she's brave, but this is what you don't see. I love the fact that they gave him that dialogue to kind of bring that full circle for Felicia to the people watching the show, but people not like us who may have tuned into General Hospital for the first time or are tuning in at the end of this storyline or are new GHers. I love the fact that they gave him that dialogue to give some type of a semblance to why Felicia is there. Because if you had just tuned in, you'd be like, why is he telling him all that about Felicia? You know what I mean? Why do we care? But it was cool.
Do you have any sympathy for Kevin? Can you see it from his point of view at all? Even though it was wrong, but can you see it?
I can, because at the end of the day, when you have a family member, and I was talking about this on my film review show, The Curvy Critic, because I was reviewing.
When does that air?
5 o'clock on Black Hollywood Live.
Got it.
I was talking about it. I was talking about a film called Diane. And in this film, Diane, this woman puts everybody in her life first except for herself. And Kevin Collins' character has not been that person on GH, but kind of sort of, because he's a therapist. So he kind of has to put his feelings and his drama and whatever he's going through on the back burner to facilitate and be there for his patients, right? So this was the one time that he felt like he didn't have to put his life on the back burner, that he's going to do what he needs to do for his brother. Because at the end of the day, yes, Ryan is a serial killer. Yes, he got some issues. Yes, he's pure, unadulterated evil, but he's still Kevin's brother. And sometimes when you're related to somebody, no matter how much they mess up, no matter how much you want to like punch them in their throat or, tell them that they shouldn't be doing that, or even wanting to distance yourself from them altogether, you just can't do it.
No, that's true. I mean, I guess you see that in real life. I mean, people that have been convicted murderers, their family will still...
Family will still, all the way up until the gas chamber time. They'll be like, he's innocent, he couldn't do that, that's my baby. It's the same situation with Kevin's character on GH. That's his family. That's the only family he's got. So if they take him away, now what? And I think in his heart of hearts, he really thought that he could help Ryan. I think he thought as a psychiatrist, if he could just get him on the right amount of meds or get him the right amount of treatment, that he could, not necessarily cure him, but at least get him on the road to recovery of not being that Ryan anymore.
Yeah.
And he was wrong, and as a result of him being wrong, 3 more people lost their lives, and almost a fourth. Almost a fourth and a fifth.
That's true. Can you see why he wouldn't have told Laura?
Because he knows Laura. He knows she would have reacted exactly the way she reacted. That's why he didn't tell her. Because Laura is, like Ava said, Laura is just good. There's no way he would have divulged that information to Laura, and Laura would have kept that to herself and not told anybody. She wouldn't.
No.
And she's mayor, so that would have put her and her family in jeopardy, and people would have been looking at her with one eye open. So she's like, He knew she would have told. He knew no matter how much she loved him, that she was always going to choose what was right over the other.
So we see him, good old Maggie, our DA, is ready to sink her teeth into Kevin, saying that, he aided and abetted Ryan by not saying that he was still alive, treating him in a Ferncliff, and then he escaped and he killed 3 people. Is Ryan, do you see it as Maggie does, that Kevin is responsible in part for these murders?
That's a good question, because it puts into play, like when somebody is a juvenile and they commit a crime. Sometimes the law, depending on the state, says that the parents are responsible, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same situation. Like, is he responsible or is he not? Kind of not, because with the juvenile situation, the juveniles are usually underage, and so their parents are responsible for them, so that's different. But when you're dealing with a grown man, then that's a very different situation. So I can see how they could probably twist the law to work to their advantage and make him responsible for those deaths. And he doesn't have any friends right now. Even his own wife has turned her back on him. So I don't know what he's going to do. And he looks so pitiful wandering through General Hospital with his hospital tag on. He looks so sad and pitiful. I'm like, oh, Kevin, I'm sorry.
And then he's just walking down by the docks and just gets that one sucker punch from Griffin.
I know, but I love the way they shot that, because the way they showed it was he's just walking and you just see this fist come out to his face. I'm like, yes. Oh, dang, who hit him?
I mean, I think everybody must have thought, like I did, that it was Ryan.
I thought it was Ryan, too. And then I was like, oh, man, really?
Yep.
But that would have been too soon to bring him back, I think.
No, you got to build it up a little bit.
Yeah, you know how they do.
Ava's got to get her vengeance. Speaking of Laura, though, there's towards the end of the week, she's getting ready to call Alexis to discuss, I'm going to discuss my marriage with Kevin. But she's wearing this black and white suit, and that white collar on that black suit. Maybe that was like hang gliders. I don't know. I was just waiting for a strong wind to just lift her off.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm like, what is with Laura's wardrobe? All of a sudden, every time you see her, she's in black and white. Like, is this the mayor uniform? Like, is this like her new mayor? Because think about it. For the last 3 weeks, all we've seen her, well, she was captive for most of that. But even before she was captive, all we ever see her in is black and white. I'm like, can we see some red, some orange, maybe a little green action? Yep. Does it have to be a black blazer with a white shirt? Like, what is happening? And P.S. and FYI, you're not even supposed to be wearing black and white on TV, because it throws the chromosome balance off. So I'm like, okay, I don't understand. I really just don't get it.
It's so yeah. The other thing that seemed weird to me is that so they bring Kevin gets arrested because like, oh, you're Ryan Chamberlain, you can prove your identity down at the precinct. Mm-hmm. So he gets down there, he's questioned. Laura's in the room, Maggie and Jordan question him, and he says, yeah, I did this. And so Jordan says, all right, you're under arrest, and then immediately handcuffs him again. Like, you're already there in the station. Why are you handcuffing him again? He's not going anywhere. Right.
Yeah, I thought that was odd. I was like, what is happening? I don't understand. I just do not understand. Okay, just to cover some things. So, Kelly, Kelly be calling us out.
Absolutely. Lay it on us.
So Kelly's like, the GM daytime noms, Garen Still, who plays Oscar, Haley Aaron, who plays Kiki, Laura Wright, who plays Carly, William Lipton, who plays Cameron, Max Gale, who plays Mike, Mara West plays Ava, Eden McCoy, who plays Joss, and Dominic, I can't pronounce his last name, Zapragna. Plays Dante. And then, our boy Maurice Bernard got nominated too. Let's not forget Maurice Bernard. And yeah, I talk about him all the time. I don't care whether he comes here or not. I still love him, so there's that. Mm-hmm. And I know that is way the opposite of what Lucretia and everybody else that's been here at the GH Report think. But I love me some Maurice Bernard. I remember Maurice Bernard when he was over on All My Children and One Life to Live. So there's that. But anywho, let's see what else they're talking about in the chat room. Jazz 41173 said Kevin is getting figuratively and literally beat up. I think Laura will eventually forgive him. Yeah, of course she's going to forgive him. And then Raya True Love Forever said, I am so sick of them acting like Kiki and Griffin had this great love story when they weren't even together that long. That's true.
But see, I wonder with that, because certainly he was involved with Claudette. That was all the big thing that led him down to come back to Port Charles. And then after that, he's with Ava. And then after that, it was with Kiki. So he's only been with 3 women. And out of all of them, Kiki was certainly, compared to the Ava and Claudette, probably the nicest, the kindest. The less manipulative.
She was the less manipulative, and she seemed the more understanding of the 3. Like, no matter what he did, no matter what he said, she would always find the silver lining in whatever he did. And I think that's why, writing-wise and storyline-wise, they have depicted them, excuse me, as this great, not this great love story, but depicted him as her being the great love of his life because of what you mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy, especially when she's taken so early, in that, and you're still in that feeling of that relationship. I mean, she's had no chance to tarnish that view by just whatever things might come up in their lives. Mm-hmm. It's always going to be held on this really high pedestal.
Absolutely.
So I feel like the only thing I really regret is we never really saw much of Griffin after Kiki's funeral. We'd see him pop in with some bruises, but never really much anything else. And then we just see him written out like this. I was kind of bummed that we didn't get to do more.
Yeah. Let me tell you something about that when it comes to soap operas. So I had a lot of friends that were on soaps over the years. Some of them were on GH, some of them on One Life to Live, some of them on All My Children, As the World Turns, Another World. And what generally happens when somebody gets written out like that is they either have another job that they're going to, their contract is up for renewal and they are no longer interested in portraying that character any longer, or the producers have decided, or the writers have decided that they can't quite seem to get a handle for how they want to propel this character forward, so they'll write them off the show.
Well, I know that Matt Cohen, and when his little farewell, that he just said that he was feeling comfortable on the show, and when he feels comfortable, that's when he starts feeling uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. So he said that he needed to go and shake things up. Mm-hmm. But the door's open for him to come back and revisit the show and come back on.
Exactly.
Which is nice.
Yeah, so some people leave because they want to, and then some people leave due to no fault of their own. So there's that. But
well, I mean, that's true. It sounds like a great gig, especially for an actor to have steady work on something, to really practice your craft. But it also is, for not fit for everybody to do for a long period of time.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know people that have been on Broadway for in the same show for 20 years, doing them 8 shows a week. I'm like, oof. I don't know if I have the makeup in my DNA to do that routine every day. Now with a soap opera, the challenge is having to get up so freaking early because they generally have to be on set at 6 a.m.
and memorize tons of dialogue.
Yeah, and sometimes they will shoot. First of all, the way they shoot a soap opera, it's like shooting a whole sitcom in one day. So they shoot 20 to 30 pages sometimes in a day. And with people that play Sonny and Carly and people that are at the forefront of any storyline, they probably have half or 3/4 of that dialogue. That's a lot of dialogue to be learning overnight. I remember when I was in New York and I worked on Another World, they had a hotline. Was it Another World? No, it was One Life to Live. They had a hotline that you would call the night before you came into work that would tell you if a scene had been cut, if your lines had been changed, which lines had been changed so that you could make those adjustments to your script. Because back then, they didn't email scripts or any of that. They would have somebody deliver it to your door, and you would have to take a pencil and literally go through the script and make the adjustments and come in and do it. And they also taped the rehearsals a lot of time. So they would come in, and the director would say, okay, we're going to rehearse. And they literally would tape the rehearsal. And if the rehearsal was good, then they would just move on because they'd have so much material to cover.
Wow, it's it's a great learning ground, and if it's a lifestyle that appeals to you, it can be a great place to really enjoy a stable career for a long period of time.
Well, Tika Sumpter was on One Life to Live, and Tika Sumpter is now doing feature films. She was in The Old Man and the Gun with Robert Redford.
Cool.
And when I talked to her about that, she was like, I don't understand these people who are like, oh my God, I had 3 pages to learn. She was like, girl, I was on One Life to Live where I would have like 20 pages in a day. What are you talking about? So yeah, it's a very daunting place to work under that kind of pressure, but it makes you a better actor, and it prepares you for if you can work on a soap opera or work for Tyler Perry, you can do anything. I'm just saying, because he works faster than soap opera pace. So if you can do that, you can do anything. But what I wanted to bring up before we run out of time is the whole Donna Day situation.
Yes, lay it on me, Carla.
I feel like this is one thing I'm getting tired. I'm really getting tired of watching Molly and Alexis and Sam try to have this conversation with Christina to help her see the dawn of day, so to speak. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But what's even more disconcerting is the fact that every time something goes down with Christina, Sam kind of bails whatever they're doing and goes running up in there talking to Shiloh. And I don't know about you, but I was super when they were having that whole conversation about being uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable. No. I was uncomfortable watching that because he was all up like and that's a testament to the 2 actors playing those parts, because I was uncomfortable, and the closer he got to her, like there was that moment where they were sitting on the sofa and he kind of scooted like right up in her face, and she got up and took her coat off and scooted right up in his face. I'm like, oh. That was very uncomfortable. That made me uncomfortable. I didn't like that.
It is interesting because I can understand Molly's point of view, where Christina, if you ever talk to Christina, a lot of her statements will always say, well, like Shiloh says, just repeating what Shiloh's always said to her.
Exactly, but that's cultish.
That is.
She's like they said.
Yeah.
It's cultish. Whenever, and so this is the thing that made me uncomfortable. So when Sam and Shiloh are having that conversation, and she's asking, how do I give he said, well, you have to give full control. And she's like, what does that entail? And he's like, you have to, I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but he said something to the extent of, you have to relinquish all control and make my thoughts your thoughts. Something along those lines is what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but you get the gist of it. And when he said that, then that kind of explained why Christina does what she's doing. Because up until that moment, I was like, is she just repeating that because she thinks that's like a cool thing to do and it's cool to impress Shiloh? But now I know that she's doing it because this is something that he's been teaching at Dawn of Day to, get people to do what he wants them to do. And how creepy was it for him to be sitting on the sidelines outside the window when she was talking to Michael? Yeah. That's just creepy. Well, why are you doing that?
Well, it's also Christina, just like, you're not going to walk around the block with your brother? You're not? What's the big deal? Just walk around the block.
Well, first of all, she didn't have on no coat, and it's wintertime in New York, so there's that. Because she comes outside, and she's like this freezing. I'm like, okay, so she ain't going off that stoop because it's cold. Like, he got on a full-on, trench coat, and she's like, or not trench coat, but winter coat, and she's like, oh, what are you into? I'm like, oh, God, girl, please. That's your brother. He the one person that's trying to give you a little bit of leadway, and
he gave you money to go do these classes.
And I love, first of all, this is what I had a problem with. How you gonna be mad about me being mad about me giving you money and you lying to me about what I gave you money for? That's my hard-earned money. If I want to question you about that, I have the opportunity to do that. But like my daddy would say sometimes, once I would give my daddy money, he'd be like, well, once you gave it to me, it's mine. You ain't got nothing else to say about what I do with it. I'm like, true that. Okay. You got a point.
I always get annoyed with Christina anytime she comes back to the Dawn of Day house and Sam's there talking to Shiloh. When Christina walks in, she always comes like, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
What are you doing here? Yeah, like, if I hear her say that one more time. Because she knows what time it is. She knows that this is the thing. Shiloh clearly has a pattern. And let's just talk about the fact that nobody that Shiloh is attracted to has blonde hair. Everybody that he's attracted to or that he's trying to indoctrinate into Dawn of Day are always brunettes with brown eyes. I'm like, what's going on with that? I don't understand. I really don't understand.
So his big thing is that now he really wants to bring Christina into that, the inner circle. And I like the way that he had to try to justify that, because I give it up for Christina that she has those moments of just like,
where she's like, what you talking about, Willis?
And it's like, I wish Christina just followed that a little bit further and you realize you're in way over your head, but she never does.
I think there's gonna. That's a good point, and I think there's gonna come a moment where that does happen, and that she does go, "Oh, I'm out," and he's gonna do something to stop her from leaving.
Well, because he's got that tape recording of her sharing some secret, and it doesn't have to be about her. It's about a family member, and she shared something.
Yeah,
we dropped it in that box.
We just don't know what it is.
But I like that she shares the first one, and he's like, "No, stop it. No, this is something you've talked about. No, I need something." Like
He's like, "Yeah, I need something bigger," and I'm like, dude, you said you needed a secret. You didn't put a qualification on what kind of secret it was.
And if somebody said to you after that, like, "No, I need something from you, Carla, that if anybody else, you've never told anybody, and if anybody else found out, it would fundamentally change the way that they think about you." Why would you know? Like, if anybody said that, like, no, why am I getting, why do you know? Why am I telling you this?
Look, first of all, it's called a secret for a reason. So there's that. So I'm gonna need him to like cool his jets and go sit in the corner somewhere and keep his shirt on. That's what I'm gonna need him to do.
Because how could you not think that was going to be an issue? Like, it's going to come back to bite you. It's going to be a blackmail issue. Why? In this day and age, I feel like so hard for people to fall for that.
Yeah, and then there was this. So then there was that moment where he heard Michael mention the name Willow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So then he shows up at that school. I'm like, oh, this is not gonna be good. This is not gonna be good. And this is another thing. So I'm really glad that they're finally giving her something to do and showing that she got some chops in the acting department, because before it was just kind of like, one line here, 2 lines there, and you weren't really invested in her. But then after I saw that tattoo, I was like, ooh, do tell, what is going on with Miss Willow? And now she's like, I gotta leave town. I got a family emergency. She's calling, she's leaving her job. She's trying to get the hell up out of Dodge when Homeboy shows up. I'm like, uh-oh.
And after that, I mean, she gets so freaked out, she gets a hold of, what's his name?
Chase.
Chase, yeah, to come over, which is great. And I love Chase standing up to him. I thought that was awesome. Like, all right, Chase is not gonna. He's not snowed.
I'm like, okay, Chase got some balls. I'm like,
yes.
Okay. I was nice to see that, because he was giving me light and fluffy for way too long. I'm like, okay, all right, Chase.
When Shiloh leaves and like does like the hand underneath Willow's chin, like, oh yeah, here we go. Like,
I was like, really, why? And she looks petrified. But this was the one thing that I was like, they should have cut this line out. There was that moment where he showed up and he says, "You're shaking," and she literally was standing still.
Yeah.
I was like, she's not shaking. Like, they could have said, "Your voice is shaking," and she could have done that. But she was like, "You're shaking. Tell me what's wrong." I'm like, dude, she is not shaking. Like, come on.
I feel like Chase is the one character that I feel like to me sometimes can go to. His intelligence is just so arbitrary in terms of what the writers need for a particular scene. Was it last week when he's asking me, "Have you seen the mayor? Have you seen the mayor? Have you seen the mayor?" I'm like, come on, get it together, Chase. To this where he's like, no, wait, Shiloh's the father of your child, isn't he? And just where you see, yes, Chase is smart and he puts things together.
You do get he's smart, but he's like, but he can be a little Keystone Copish smart sometimes. It's
Yes.
like it take him a little too long to get with the program. And 2 other things I want to mention real quick that happened this week is I love the conversations that happened between Anna and her sister and with Finn, all of that. I loved all of that. And I loved how when they finally did tell Oscar what was up and he asked for that moment alone with his mom, and him and his mom just had that moment for him to tell her before the stuff hits the fan how he really felt about her being his mom. Yeah. Baby, I had to break out the tissues on that one. That wore me out.
That was a really good scene.
Did you get emotional, Frank Moran?
No, I didn't get emotional, but I have some thoughts that I'll share with you after the show, Carla,
oh, no!
about that scene. Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
Share with the off.
Oh,
there.
Dang.
Yes. There you go.
I just knew you were gonna have something to say about that.
No, but the sort of comments that are probably best reserved for off air.
All right then. Now you know the chat room's gonna be like, no.
Nope. Because it's not what the show's about. What my thoughts were are. So, but yes.
And what about how Willow laid into Nina? She ripped Nina a new one. I was living for that.
But I feel like that.
And they were in each other's face. I'm like, yes, Willow, let her have it. She had it coming. I was surprised Nina didn't smack her, though.
It was a great scene, but I feel like there's no doubt now that they're going to set it up that Willow is really her daughter.
Oh, you think?
Because you make these 2 characters can't stand each other, and then you find out that you're really mother and daughter.
Oh, that would be so awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is. It's just like, oh, all right, we can't stand each other, and now we're related. Oh, great.
Well, what's gonna happen with Sasha though?
All right, I love
They're
this
trying
part.
to set Sasha and Michael up, and I'm just like, and then Michael's all like, "Yeah, my last girlfriend had secrets, and she did this," and Sasha's kind of like,
I gotta go. That's why I have to leave right now.
and then she just bounces and leaves, and he's like, "What the hell?" He's like,
So Michael goes to Floating Rib with Mike as well as Carly, and and they find out that Carly's pregnant and all this stuff, and that's all great. But so Michael goes to the bar, so I'll get us some drinks. So then he runs into Sasha as she's leaving, and then says, "Hey, you know what? Can I buy you a drink as well?" So then he's got a drink for her and a drink for him.
The
They get
umbrella
umbrellas,
drink,
but then has left the other drink that's for the table just sitting there right there on the bar. Doesn't even like walk over to the table and say, "Hey, here's your drink. I'm gonna hang out at the bar for a second and talk to Sasha." Doesn't say that. Just leaves the drink there for the longest time, and then finally comes over after Sasha bails and then gives him the drinks. I'm like, "What are you doing, Michael?
I cannot.
Come on." You can't just leave the rest of your family hostage they're thirsty. They want to drink. And you just got to sit up there at the bar.
Michael. I liked Michael when he was trying to punk Nell. I liked him better when he was trying to punk Nell.
Yeah, when he was like, I was like, all right, man, Michael's playing some game here. I like it.
Yeah, now he's gone back to like punk Michael. It's like, oh, come on now.
Yeah, and
maybe he'll step up with the whole Donna Day thing with Christina. Maybe he'll be the one to step up.
I do like that they're expanding that a little bit, and they're getting Molly involved. They're getting Michael involved. I'm all for that. It's because it's like for it to just to be Jason and Sam doing this whole thing. I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's nice for them to get some other people involved in this.
So I think it was Annie that asked me online on Twitter. She asked me about Molly, and I said to her online that Molly had a whole storyline in the beginning with TJ. There was a whole thing with her and TJ. Did something else happen with Molly that I'm not? And I'm sure she had another major storyline, but I don't remember what it is. Do you remember by any chance?
I can't really like.
But the whole TJ thing took a really long time. Do you remember that when she was first starting to date TJ and Jordan didn't want her dating him and Alexis didn't want her date? Like, it was a whole thing.
Yeah, but I can't think of really anything that's been like, this is Molly's story.
Okay.
Nothing that's really stringing me not to be. And there could be stuff that she's been centered around, especially when she was younger, between Rick and Alexis and maybe more of that. But,
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to address it while we were on the air today because Annie did ask me that on Twitter, and I just wanted to address that while we were on the air.
And I mean, I know we're wrapping up, and I probably waited a little too long to say this, but you can never, it's never too late to say thank you to all our fans.
Never too late.
Never too late to say thank you to all our great fans.
Yep.
They watch the show and give us the opportunity to do what we love, which is to get together on a Sunday afternoon and talk about General Hospital.
Yep.
But, folks, you've helped to make us the ESPN of TV Talk, and we just need a little bit more help from you. So we're asking that if you're watching us on YouTube, you hit that like button and subscribe, and if you're on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. But wherever you're watching, leave us a comment so you can get involved in the conversation. As I said, being part of AfterBuzz has meant so much to both of us and to everybody else that works here. So we really appreciate you giving us a chance to do what we love. So continue to watch our shows and our
Watch our
Joes. Watch our Joes and our shows. But thanks for watching and keep watching. We'll keep doing more stuff for you.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do it.
Yes. So Patrick Sia, Dolores Leach, Daisy Flower 40, Rhea True Love Forever, Rena Sheen, Jazz 41173, I think Stuart Pierce. I think I got everybody. Hydro Knight, Tam Smith. Anybody that I missed, please know it's not on purpose. We love y'all. We're so glad that you're in the chat room. We're so glad that you take time on your Sunday night to watch us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, and everything that Frank said.
There you go. So I guess we have a little hot news and goss as we get ready towards wrapping up the show here.
Yeah, what's up?
Yes.
You gonna break it down?
I'm going to break it down here. So, of course, we've got a pregnancy storyline, perhaps looming for Franco and Liz.
Oh.
Yes.
Franco and Liz?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Really? What do you feel about Liz having possibly 4 kids?
That's what I'm saying. She don't need one more child. She don't need one more child. She can't handle the 3 she got. Or the 2 she got. I'm sorry, the 2 she got.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, what did you think of that conversation between, Cameron?
I'm sorry, the 3
Franco?
she got. She got 3 kids.
Yeah, Cameron and Franco.
I have no thoughts.
I mean, it's. Do you think Liz is making the right choice? That she's
Bringing
like, I
him
don't know.
home.
Yeah, should I not?
Yeah, I think she's making the right choice in bringing him home. She was right all along, and Cameron was like, I understand why you did that, and I understand that you love my mom, but who's to say, the next time this happens, look how hard that was on my little brothers. Like, I'm older, I can handle it, but, look what it did to them. Like, I can understand both sides of the coin,
And also, we've been talking about the Ryan Chamberlain storyline, that Ava, probably more than anybody, has suffered from this latest iteration of Ryan Chamberlain's visit upon Port Charles. And so in an interview with Soap Opera Digest, she insisted that Ava needed to be the one that finally killed Ryan Chamberlain.
Ooh, nice.
To quote her, if Ava Jerome doesn't get to kill that guy, I'm going to go to my grave with the biggest regret of my career. There had better be something, and it had better be good. I wish that for her.
Ooh, nice.
Yes. So, I mean, I guess I don't disagree.
No, I don't either. I'm like... But I'd hate to see her go to jail for murder. You think that she would go to jail for murder, or they'd let her out? And I think after that, she'd probably bounce from Port Charles because there's way too many memories and ghosts there for her.
I don't know if anybody would convict her for given the the backstory of everything that happened. But I mean, I think if GH is smart, they're going to frame it in such a way that she can. Well, either she's doing it in a supposed self-defense, or I mean, I guess the jury they could arrest her. Reluctantly arrest her. And then she goes to trial, and the jury, clears her.
Okay.
But then I'll be curious to see what she does after that. I mean, I think the thing with Ava is that she still has Avery in Port Charles, and Carly and Sonny are never going to let Avery go. So I think it's tough to take Ava as a character to write her to the point where she will leave Port Charles and not have Avery with her.
At some point, they're going to both have to go. Maybe they'll age Avery up because, they're known for doing that. Child, one day you'll watch, they'll be like an infant, and the next day you watch, they're like in high school. It's like, ooh, what happened to Avery?
That's true. And so like, well, no, I'm leaving with Mom. Sorry, guys. Like, oh, all right. There's also a rumor that they're going to be having a possible engagement soon on the show as well. That could possibly speculation is possibly it could be him, Finn, and Anna. Fana, I guess.
Oh
no, you don't like Fana?
No.
All right. Well, we'll keep. If you have a great shipping name that you'd like for them, let us know.
Ugh,
there you go. No? All right.
No.
I tried, Carla. I tried.
No.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for this episode of the GH After Show. Report
After show, whichever one it is.
We're on the GH Report. There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for watching us. We really enjoyed it. As always, thanks everybody for hopping in the chat. You make it so much more fun to do the show. Carla has loved reading your comments.
I do. I love it all the time. You know that.
So, as always, like us on Facebook, give us those 5 stars on iTunes, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if you want to stay in touch with either of us after the show's over, Carla, where can they find you?
You guys can find me across all social media platforms at The Curvy Critic, and you can find me right before the GH After Show over at Black Hollywood Live at 5 p.m. for The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. Check out the latest movies with me. Thank you.
Look at that. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of the GH Report. We'll see you back here next Sunday night for an all-new episode right here on AfterBuzz TV.
Bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principal.